Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jeff from Urban Condo Spaces. Could this be the best time that we've had in the last 10 years to purchase a condo? So let me explain. Have you heard Buffett saying, be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful? That's a saying that I think of often when we're in a time like this where market uncertainty creates an opportunity that maybe we haven't seen in a long time. So here's the thing. I'm not going to convince you that now is the absolute perfect time to buy. I'm not convinced that the market's not going to give a little price back still. I still think that we could see as many as 2, 3, maybe 4 months of pretty sloppy sales, meaning that as the inventories continue to increase, I could see some pricing restabilizing, consolidating, coming back to you as a buyer. But let's assume that the market does go back in the spring, even half of what it was during the last 6 to 8 years. If you take this opportunity to be greedy when others are fearing where the market's going, maybe it'll pay off. I mean, you might look back and say, hey, that purchase that I made in November or late December when everyone was kind of hanging with their family, enjoying the holiday, successful. But let's just assume that the market springs back into action in February, March, April, May, June of next year. You guys might look back and be really, really thankful that you took a risk when everyone else was on the sideline. So I'm not trying to convince you that right now is the absolute best time to buy. And I'm also not convinced that the market might not give a little bit back in pricing. But when you look at year over year, I just pulled the stats in October, and you'll see it on the blog post that I'm just about to post this afternoon. You'll see that year over year, our median price has gone up. Our number of the number of transactions or the number of closed sales has increased just slightly, but has increased. In the last 30 days, there's been 34 closed sales in downtown Seattle and 32 units that are pending. So even though it appears that there's less transactional volume, that there's a massive amount more of inventory and very few sales, that's not necessarily the case. We're still seeing good units that are priced well selling. So if you guys get out there and you find an opportunity to buy something that's either undervalued or that totally meets your terms and you're able to negotiate something that you're proud of, I don't think you look back a year from now and you're disappointed. I think you'll look back and say that that was a window of opportunity where you were able to seize a purchase opportunity when others were watching. Hey guys, I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I would be a believer in Seattle real estate right now, especially downtown Seattle condos. Number 1, market fundamentals. Look at Seattle employment. Look at the wage growth in the wages that employees are being paid, what they're being paid here in Seattle. Look at the workforce. Look at the youth. Look at the investment that's being made, the capital investments that are being made into our city, our hotels, office, residential space. I think long term you're looking at a city that's going to continue to be on an uptrend. Number 2, I think if you look at downtown as a whole, it's going to continue to be more popular. The traffic pattern in Seattle is getting worse and worse and worse, right? And there's only 2 ways to alleviate that, right? You stay put, you don't move, or you move into the city, you get urban. If you move out, and which some have done over time, and you can do that by working remotely, great. But I think the trend is going to be moving in city, much like we saw in Vancouver, BC. If you look at Vancouver, BC, it's one of the densest cities in the entire world, right? There could be some similarities for us if we improve our public infrastructure, our transportation, and the ways that we get in and out of the city. I could see a continued development, massive development, going vertical, right? High-rise development, in-city schools, in-city grocery. So keep an eye out for that. Third and final point on 3 reasons why I'm still a believer in Seattle, a believer and a buyer in Seattle, is that look at the last decade. Over the last decade in downtown Seattle, we only delivered about 1,200 condos total. Now that was during a time where we delivered nearly 20,000 apartments. And eventually there has to be a reversion of the mean. You have to see the amount of condo supply come back on the market, adding units in good quality concrete and steel buildings that I think some of you guys will be buyers in. I believe in the story long term. I think that despite the limited amount of condos that we built this last 10 years, I think we see an enormous number of condos that we're going to build here over the next decade. I think these are really, really exciting projects. In fact, I'm heading up to Vancouver tomorrow to take a look at First Light and get a chance to sit down with some of the folks from their development team at West Bank. I'm thrilled to tell you guys more about that project, but bottom line is, I think if you look at their project and others in downtown over the next decade, it's very exciting stuff, and it's reasons to be a believer in Seattle. So those are 3 reasons why I'm still a believer in the market, guys. I think if you look at Seattle as a whole, and 10 years from now we look back, it's going to be an area that we were all thankful to have invested in. If you guys have any questions, get in touch. If you appreciated the video, you liked the video, make sure to like, comment, or subscribe. Thanks for watching, guys. Catch you on the next one.